Tell me when. Let's go. Here we are at Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, for what is the final race of the 2014 Super Trofeo Europe Series. We had race one about 4 hours ago this morning. Since then, we've had a monumental storm. You can't see too many traces of it now. There was a slight delay to the final race of the Super Trofeo Asia Series, which has just been completed. Max Weiser and Young Zin. Max Weiser winning his 8th race out of 10 races so far this year. They certainly started with a wet circuit and developed a dry line as the race wore on. So it's full slick setup, dry running now. The storm appears to have passed. We're hoping there isn't a sudden downpour, as can be the case on the odd occasion here at Sepang. But so far, all looking very good, because we've had race one, and during race one, a number of interesting occurrences happened. Andrea Amici won his first pro race of the year, of course finished second at the last round at the Nürburgring, but this time round he took victory. Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic did everything they needed to do to battle Jerome Mull. So now both those teams in the pro class for the pro class title, there's now 1 point separating them. But by virtue of finishing 5th, Jerome Mull, 5-time winner this year, now Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic are also 5-time winners. They've leapt him in the order by finishing second in that race. So that's opened up a very, very interesting scenario. I spoke to Eduardo Piscopo just before the race, and he said, well, we didn't really want to have to do it this way. It's going to be hard work. The track could be a little slippery, but this is going to have to be a race all the way to the flag. And that's the way they've battled all year with Jerome Mull. So nothing different there. Alberto Verberti, he finished 3rd in race one. He was just over a second further back from the Benaldi Motorsport pairing of Piscopo and Pavlovic. But what was interesting is the other Benaldi Motorsport car, which led the opening stanza of race one quite convincingly, hit the compulsory pit stop 12 seconds up on the field, was of course Mirko Bertolotti. He'd set pole here yesterday with a 2:09.5. Don't expect we'll see that number change today. But just after the compulsory pit stop, David Perel jumped in, and strangely we've seen on replays he went straight on at the end of the straight, we believe on his outlap from pit lane, regrouped, got through turn 2, through 2 and 3, and got to turn 4, and the car spun quite heavily backwards into the catch fence. Unfortunately for them, they're still working on the car in pit lane. The entire left rear of that LP 574 is very, very badly damaged, and the Benaldi Motorsport crew are working very hard to get it prepared, or repaired rather, for qualifying for the world final that will begin tomorrow morning here at Sepang Circuit. So they're a scratching. The other one that was interesting was the battle for the AM class, and of course Simone Pellegrinelli, he was leading coming into the penultimate race of the championship. And 26 points up, he almost just needed to finish. The only problem was, after 4 laps, he lost the clutch in his DTM Motorsport Super Trofeo, and that was game over for him. So he had to sit nervously in pit lane and watch title rival Shota Abkazava, of course, from Luxembourg's Lamborghini racing team, run at the front of the field. He had the AM class lead within his sights at the midpoint of the race, but unfortunately he had a drama too and dropped back down the order. Finished in the end in 5th place in AM. Now that left a deficit in the championship of around 22 points, and that made, of course, Simone Pellegrinelli the champion for AM class this year. Already we'd seen at the Nürburgring that the championship for Pro-Am had been taken. That was wrapped up very early, or certainly prior to this round, by Alberto De Falco. So that was a brilliant drive by him. He's still been running strongly here this weekend. And in fact, if we just check the results from the opening race, he also was out after the midpoint of the race, so I've just contradicted myself a little bit there. In the end, 14 runners were classified as a result of the race. There was issues from the opening lap, and they carried on through the race. One of the most dramatic, unfortunately, for Daniel Hickmar and Faraz Fauzi. Faraz had a good start, handed over to Daniel, and unfortunately for them, they had an incident at almost exactly the same time that David Perel had dramas on almost exactly the same part of the circuit. Perel, we saw run off on the end of the main straight, then have a drama at turn 4, whereas Fauzi managed to get through turn 2 and had an issue. He'd had contact with the wall somewhere, or rather Daniel Hickmar, and kept going, but something had broken in the left rear of the car, in the suspension, and that also created a bit of an issue somewhere with perhaps an oil line getting onto exhaust. A fire started in the back of that car. Fortunately, the marshals were able to put it out quite quickly, but that is game over for them, unfortunately, and will probably have a pretty big bearing on their ability to make the world final here on Sunday afternoon. So what that meant was Andrea Amici, as we said, he inherited the lead and did a great job up until the safety car period. We lost about 15 minutes as circuit marshals removed the Fauzi car from the circuit. 2 flying laps after the safety car, and that was end of race. And as we say, Andrea Amici has taken victory. And it looks like the team down at on the grid, so Jane and Julio, with some luck, we will cross to you very shortly, and you can talk to some of the drivers about how things are going.
Here, I'd like to introduce the president of Lamborghini, and he's here with us today. And I'd like to ask you, what are we going to be expecting for this amazing weekend?
But first of all, I have to say that we have 3 different types of races going on. We have the European final, then we have the Asian final, and then we have the World Final, which is the second edition of the World Final. And for the first time, we have over 40 cars on the grid. This will happen on Sunday with the World Final, and cars coming from all the 3 series. So the American one, the European one, and for sure the Asian one. So all in all, is the best weekend in terms of racing we've ever had.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Presidente, siamo qui a Sepang per questa splendida settimana tutta Lamborghini.
Sì, una settimana, un fine settimana molto importante per noi, perché abbiamo 3 tipologie di gare del Super Trofeo. Abbiamo le finali delle gare europee, abbiamo le finali delle gare asiatiche e poi abbiamo la finale mondiale, dove abbiamo più di 40 vetture in griglia, per esattezza sono 42, per cui per noi è motivo d'orgoglio, perché ci sono gli americani, gli europei e gli asiatici in partenza, e in tutto si può dire che è il fine settimana più importante che abbiamo mai avuto in Lamborghini fino ad ora.
Grazie.
Very exciting time down on the grid. All the cars are preparing for what is the last 50-minute race, and as we explained, Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic, by virtue of finishing second in that opening race, have now inherited the lead back down to the grid and to Julio and Jane.
The supercars at the moment. So what do you think about the track condition right now? What will be your strategy for the day?
It's very tricky because for sure it should dry up unless it's going to rain. But at the moment the track looks very slippery, so it's not going to be easy for Milos, but I'm sure it'll be good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Edoardo, mancano 5 minuti al via di gara 2, un solo punto vi pone davanti nella classifica pro, ma adesso è tutto da conquistare. L'asfalto è ancora un po' umidiccio dallo scroscio di pioggia che abbiamo avuto 40 minuti fa, partite con le slick, strategia?
Ma attaccare e arrivare davanti a lui è molto facile, cioè quello che fa lui noi cerchiamo di farlo meglio e basta.
In bocca al lupo.
Ciao.
Mule.
So as we explained, Andrea Amici will sit on pole by virtue of winning the opening race here at Sepang International Circuit. Eduardo Piscopo, we're just talking to there with Jane and Julio. He will start alongside in the Benoldi Motorsport car. Row 3, Alberto Verberti, by virtue of finishing third in race 1. And Giovanni Venturini, he dropped well down the order at the start, probably got mixed up in some of the issues with the field mid-pack coming through turn 2 on the opening lap. And after the restart, there were 2 flying laps to the flag. Amici had inherited the lead. He held on to that quite comfortably, but also Venturini came under fire from Jeroen Mull, who knew that his title rivals were a couple of grid spots ahead of him. He did everything in his power to try and get that position back, but couldn't get past Venturini in the end, and had to settle for 5th place, and now he is the one that is chasing the title leaders. Lead Pro-Am car, Gerard Torreza and Thomas Pavoda in the Grasser Racing Team Super Trofeo. They finished immediately ahead of Mikhail Grashev, so that was 1, 2 and 3rd across the line. Sebastian Merchant and Andrea Ciccato, they were battling very strongly at the front of the Pro-Am field in the opening part of the race prior to the compulsory stop, and then dropped back down the order as things played out. And the leading AM driver was Jake Rattenbury. Unfortunately for Jake, that didn't put him high enough up in the points, despite taking his 2nd win for the year, and he will claim 3rd place in the AM series for the 2014 season.
Okay, so you won the last race, and now the track condition is actually very different. So tell me, what will be your strategy for this race?
Yeah, I hope to make at least win. Will be difficult because every driver are very faster, but we have a good car today, and I hope to make the same of the tomorrow.
Okay.
Of morning.
All right, good luck for the race.
Siamo con Andrea Amici. Andrea ha vinto gara 1 e immaginiamo punti a replicare il successo di gara 1 oggi. Le condizioni asfalto come sono?
Beh, la pista adesso è in una condizione un po' critica, quindi cercheremo di stare attenti ai primi giri e poi ci concentreremo per cercare di fare il bis anche oggi pomeriggio.
Buon divertimento e buon lavoro.
That pole position for this race was well deserved by Andrea Amici in very, very difficult conditions at the Nürburgring last time round, September round, the penultimate round of the championship for the Super Trofeo Europe Series. Visibility very, very difficult, so those drivers had to battle conditions there that are in stark contrast to here. One thing the rain has done, though, it has taken a bit of the humidity and the heat out of the day, which is very welcome, because talking to the drivers after opening practice on Thursday, every single one of the European drivers, if you asked them how they felt, said it was hot. That was the first thing that they made as an observation. So for the young, fit, professional drivers, okay, that's one thing. They're often training in very hot conditions. But certainly for some of the amateur drivers, a cool suit is an absolute must at the Sepang circuit. And that's one thing that the Asian drivers, when it comes to Sunday's World Final, where they may enjoy some level of advantage if there is intense heat, because that's something that clearly they are competing in quite a lot during the course of the year. So, as has been explained, there are 3 championships in the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series. North American Championship, which has been running for 2 years. This is the completion of its 2nd season. Europe has been running since 2009. And Asia, this is its 3rd year. This weekend is the 2nd annual, now annual, it'll become a regular feature on the Blancpain Super Trofeo calendar, the 2nd World Final. Last year, of course, the first World Final was at Vallelunga in Italy, and that was actually won by Andrew Palmer, American driver. Very few American entries last year, because their first season in, but he certainly displayed some great pace and did a brilliant job to become the inaugural Super Trofeo World Final champion. Sounds like we may have some interviews brewing down on pit lane. Still a short while to go. We unfortunately had a delay due to the rain, so that has set the calendar back about 20 minutes or so. So the teams have had a little bit of time to settle down. That's also allowed the circuit the chance to dry. 5.543 kilometres the journey, 15 corners, 2 very long straights. And Max Weiser, who's just been crowned recently 2-time Pro-Am champion in Super Trofeo Asia.
All right, congratulations on the All right.
Okay.
Okay, congratulations on the podium earlier. So the track is wet and it's running a bit different. I saw the earlier race, but luckily it starts to dry down a little bit. So how confident are you on this race now?
Yeah, the first part of the race too will be difficult. It's very hard, but the race one is so good. I hope in the race like the race one.
Okay. All right. So all the best in the race. All right.
Thank you.
Alberto, la domanda d'obbligo pure in italiano. Partiamo terzi, l'asfalto è un po' ancora bagnato dalla pioggia di un'ora fa. Cosa ti aspetti? Vedo che sei sulle slick così come tutti i tuoi rivali.
Sì, da questo giro abbiamo visto che comunque le condizioni non sono per niente facili, perché comunque ci sono parti della pista che ti danno molta confidenza, ma alcuni posti, alcune staccate che sono davvero pericolose. Vedremo, secondo me la prima parte è da stare davvero all'occhio, però spero in una piccola rimonta, perché davanti non ne ho tanti, come simile alla gara 1, dai, speriamo.
Buon divertimento e buon lavoro.
Thank you, Julio. And Jane, down on pit lane. It looks like we will be underway before very much longer. As we say, a slight delay due to fairly intense weather. We've been pretty lucky here at Sepang this week. It's been predicted rain every single day. In fact, the next 3 days are predicted rain. We had a very heavy shower and an amazing lightning storm last night after everybody had pretty much left the circuit. And unfortunately, after race one, just as the Super Trofeo Asia Series are about to get underway with their last race of the season ahead of the World Final. The heavens opened again and the circuit was pretty treacherous for them, but they managed to come through that. A few laps behind safety car just to get things underway, and they're away. And of course Max Weiser, the Italian driver now based in China, managed to claim his 8th win of the year with, of course, Yang Xin alongside this time again. Now, interestingly, we were talking about Max Weiser and this very circuit. I'd noticed earlier in the week that the rear wing, one of the few adjustments that the Super Trofeo cars can make to the setup of the car, ride height, aero adjustments, and essentially I think there's some front suspension adjustments the cars can make. Aside from that, they're essentially locked and limited. So the cars are essentially identical. Minor tweaks to the car. Again, the rear wing was at a slightly higher angle than I might have expected for a circuit that has 2 very long straights. But Max assured me that the one thing that you want at the circuit at Sepang, he's very experienced around here, is through the turns 4, 5, 6 complex, and certainly into turn 10, turn 12, turn 13. They are mid to high speed corners, and stability is the key to the car, certainly for the AM drivers, and that makes things a little bit of
Okay, Jack, and that was a winner for AM class. And what are you feeling right now? Are you ready to make it another return for this?
Yeah, it's different conditions now with the slippery surface and the water. So yeah, just trying to keep it smooth, keep it on the track, and hopefully keep the pace up and come home with another trophy.
Okay, all the best for the race.
Thank you.
Abbiamo sentito anche Jack, il vincitore fra gli AM della gara 1, anche lui dice che la pista è ancora in condizioni un po' particolari, è molto scivolosa, dice infatti slippery. La sua attenzione sarà tutta per i primi giri per tenere la vettura in pista e sperando di portare a casa l'ennesimo trofeo della stagione.
Jake Rattenbury, of course, won the AM class, his 2nd win for the 2014 season. He's had victory in race 2 at Paul Ricard for the AM class. That event saw Jerome Moule and the Piscopo-Pavlovich combination both taking victories. In fact, in the pro class, those drivers have shared between them now 5 victories apiece, or the 2 teams 5 victories apiece. And Andrea Palmer won the opening pro class race at the start of the year at Monza. Now, we're talking about the 2 long drag strips. The end of the main straight. Data shows us they're doing something like 250 kilometres an hour.
Okay, Miko, seems like you're unable to do the race too. So just tell me what will be your prediction for this race too. Who will be taking the trophies back?
Well, yeah, we had some bad luck today. As you mentioned, we were leading and then unfortunately we had a crash with my teammates, so we couldn't take the start. Car is too damaged. Prediction for today, yeah, well, unfortunately Jeroen Moule is not starting on the grid. I don't know what happened. Apparently he will start from the pit lane, so it's going to be really difficult for him to come back. I think in this condition right now, my teammates from Bonaldi, Milos Pavlovic and Edoardo Piscopo have the best cards to win the title. And if nothing happens with them, I think it looks going to end like this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mirko, ti vediamo in borghese, quindi immaginiamo non prendere parte a questa gara 2, immagino a causa del contatto del tuo compagno di squadra alla fine di gara 2. Quindi sì, sfortuna, ma da te, visto che sei un loro compagno di avventura, dici chi vincerà il titolo pro quest'anno?
Ma guarda, ma sì, come hai detto te, purtroppo io non faccio questa gara, mi dispiace un po', l'ultima gara dell'Europeo ci tenevo molto, visto che comunque andavamo anche abbastanza bene. E guardando la griglia mi dispiace molto che non ci sia Jeroen Mul in griglia, perché non so cosa sia successo, deve partire dal pit lane, quindi in questo caso i miei compagni di squadra di Bonaldi con Milos Pavlovic e Edoardo Piscopo hanno tutte le carte in regola per portare a casa i punti necessari per vincere il titolo, quindi credo che abbiano tutte le carte in regola, è una grandissima chance per vincere il titolo, quindi vediamo cosa succede, nelle corse non si sa mai, se non hanno grossi problemi credo che vinceranno loro.
Grazie.
Must be difficult for any driver, doesn't matter how good they are, to be involved in a situation where they have to stand and watch the championship they've competed in all year and not be a part of it. Again, I saw that car just prior to this session starting, prior to the final race of the season, and damage is not insignificant but certainly repairable, and the team down at Bonaldi Motorsport are working very hard to make sure that Mirko is on the grid for the world final on Sunday, which of course is of huge importance to everybody competing in Super Trofeo. 42 cars here this weekend, and we're hoping to see every one of them in the final 2 races of the season, the final two 50-minute races for the year, where North America, Asia and Europe will come together and see Mirko Bortolotti, who's set a cracking pace here in qualifying, back on the grid. Interesting too what he says about Jeroen Mul. He came into this round leading by 5 points. Started, or certainly finished race 1 with a 1-point deficit to Mirko's teammates, the Bonaldi Motorsport pairing of Piscopo and Pavlovic. But now Jeroen Mul's forced to start from rear field, and he'll have his work cut out for him if he's going to be able to get through to the field and be able to battle Piscopo and Pavlovic. He needs to finish ahead of them. That's the only scenario that will give him the 2014 title. So beyond that, we'll see how the race pans out. Crews off the circuit. Pace car is at the front of the field and ready to lead the field around for the lap. You can see a couple of cars appear to be missing from the grid there. Of course, Jeroen Mul is one of those. So a very fast circuit. Come back to Max Weiser's heads up to us as to how quick this circuit is. 2:48 at the end of the main straight. A little bit tight through turn 1 and 2. Turn 2, very difficult to see the exit. In fact, he will tell you need to turn in blind and just know that the car is in the right spot for the circuit. Turn 3, 210. Down to turn 4, the sharp right-hander. 230 kilometres an hour to that point. Fast sweeping left-hander turn 5, 145 kilometres an hour, through to turn 6, another fast sweeper, down to turn 7, 8, 9 is a sharp left-hander through to turn 10 and 11. And as you're coming through turn 12 and 13, heading to the start of the other long straight into turn 14, you're carrying pretty heavy speed at 175 kilometres an hour, carrying as much of that as you can through on the run to turn 15. And 232 kilometres an hour. So it's a quick lap. As we say, Mirko Bortolotti, a 2:09.5, a new lap record for Super Trofeo around the Sepang International Circuit. And That may or may not change right now because conditions are a little bit cooler, but also the track is a little slipperier. It is cleaner. The rain has certainly washed away any debris, any dirt, any rubber, and we will see what grip levels are like. But the teams are likely to be fitted with a new or certainly a roaded or scrubbed set, if you like, of the DH compound Pirelli control tyres that has served this series so well over the many years since it first began. Began, of course, in Europe in 2009. So the field is running away. We are missing a couple of cars. Certainly that will have a bit of an impact off the start. Now, if we go back to the start of the European Championship, it began on 12th, 13th of April at Monza in Italy. In late May, they were at Silverstone in the UK, and on to Paul Ricard at the end of June. At the end of July, they're at the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. And in late September, the most recent round at Nürburgring, where they were faced with very, very dense fog and difficult visibility conditions. And under those conditions, Jeroen Moul put himself right into the Pro Class Championship points lead and carried that through to race one here earlier in the day. So the grid, as you see, Andrea Amici, Alberto Viberti, is on P3, but now P2. I beg your pardon, we're just looking at an order as they cross the line. We go back to the actual finishing results from race number one. Andrea Amici was, of course, the race winner. Eduardo Piscopo will start from P2. Alberto Viberti, P3. Giovanni Venturini on P4. Jeroen Moul, unfortunately, will not make a start from P5. He will start from pit lane, as Bertolotti explained to us. Thomas Pavoda will start from P6. Mikhail Grashev in P7. Jake Rattenbury, P8. Jan van Ustel will start from P9. And P10, Mikhail Spiridonov in the Kinetic Racing Team AM class car. So the rest of the field you've seen stroll through. Mirko Bertolotti and David Perel will not take part in this race, nor Daniel Hickmar and Fares Fauzi, because unfortunately their car was badly damaged in a fire. Alberto De Falco should be a part of the field, so too the Escalenen car, which was out early. So Simone Pellegrinelli, he will start further back in the field, as we say, only completed 4 laps. But despite that, he has taken the 2014 AM Championship for Super Trofeo Europe. Safety car at the front of the field, coming through turn 15. The field rolling start, GT competition. It's one of the blueprints of GT racing worldwide. Standing starts are essentially a thing of the past. The pole sitter for the race will control the field for the start. And it appears that we may well be starting the race behind safety car in order for the drivers to, in fact, the yellow flag has just appeared, the safety car signal. The race is underway. This will give the drivers a chance to just make sure that the circuit is okay. Of course, they've all gone out on the Pirelli DH Control slick tyre, and they'll be very keen to make sure that the grip levels are high. So the last thing they need is to find some standing water on the circuit, lose grip and come off the circuit. It's going to be very difficult to rejoin. The rainstorm was quite heavy, and it will have made the outfield of the circuit very, very wet. You see a few dry lines through it, or certainly a dry line starting to appear on the circuit, but some dampness still on the surface of this 5.543 kilometre 15-turn Sepang layout. Of course, designed by Herman Tilke, the famous Formula One circuit designer. He's responsible for many of the famous circuits, certainly around the world, but definitely in the Asian region. We talk about Asia. The Asia Series this year has competed at Sepang, started the season there, Sentul in Indonesia, Fuji in Japan, Zhuhai in China, and Shanghai in China. So it's been a busy season for them, and of course this the last round was here just earlier, and Max Weiser and Young Zin won, certainly Max Weiser won his 8th race from 10 rounds this year. They stopped in the opening race, unfortunately with a electrical issue, got the car going and started rear of field and worked their way through to take the victory. But now we're all about the final round of Super Trofeo Europe. We've seen Simone Pellegrinelli is the new AM champion for 2014 in Super Trofeo Europe. Previous round at the Nürburgring circuit, of course, the Pro-Am champion, 18-year-old Italian Alberto De Falco, was crowned the champion. So now it is down to the Pro class. 1 point separates Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic and Jeroen Mul. Both teams rather have won 5 rounds apiece in this championship so far from the 11 races that have now been completed. Jeroen Mul starts at the rear of this field by virtue of an issue that the team must have had during the final stages of that race. That might explain why he was unable to attack Giovanni Venturini during the closing stages of the race. Safety car lights are off. This is a promising sign. Andrea Amici will control the field. The safety car will pull into pit lane, and with 43 minutes left on the clock, Andrea Amici will lead this field away. At last we're under green flag conditions and race is underway. So Amici now. Piscopo will be very keen to try and get through to the lead, but he's also very mindful that his title rival is well back in the field. Once the timing screen refreshes, we'll give you a quick update as to where Jeroen Mul is in this field. But currently, it's Amici, Piscopo, and Alberto Viberti, who finished, of course, on the podium in race 1, holding down positions 1 through 3. And that would be the number 26 car with Thomas Pavoda behind the wheel. It's on screen now. The leading Pro-Am class car in this field, Jake Rattenbury, is being shown in position number 5, which is a pretty impressive start for him for the AM class. Jan van Oostel, who stood next to him on the podium in race 1, shown in position 6. And Mikhail Spiridonov, who was very quick during the early stanza of the opening race, shown in position number 7. So fairly clean. Of course, drivers will still be mindful of the fact that, as you can see on circuit there, it's a little bit damp, and that's a quite heavy braking point. Don't want the car to get too skatey. Also mindful of tyre wear, although that'll certainly have less of an impact than the earlier race, where temperatures in the mid-30s, ambient temperature, track temperature had climbed above 40. Oh, there's a little bit of contact between the position 3 and 4 on circuit. Alberto Viberti just closing the door on Thomas Pavoda, who's seemingly very keen to get through. Makes perfect sense. They're here in a race, and he wants to get further forward in this field. But as the Pro-Am race leader, he's a good 5 positions up on Andrea Ceccato back in P9 in Pro-Am. You've got a feast of AM class drivers in between them. Rattenbury, Van Oostel, Spiridonov and Polishuk are in between the 2 Pro-Am teams. But up front, Andrea Amici, he will 2:12.96. I was going to say he will record his first full flying lap, so we have a good idea of what the track conditions are like. A little bit slower than perhaps we'd expect, but certainly during the opening stanza of the first race, Mirko Bertolotti was turning laps just prior to his compulsory pit stop in that range in the mid to high 2:12. So certainly not a shabby time by any stretch of the imagination. 1.6 seconds back to Piscopo. Now we're looking at the screen, position 12 for Jeroen Mul. So he's got a little bit of work to make up, but currently he is the 5th placed Pro class driver in the field. He needs, doesn't matter where he finishes in this race, provided it's within the points, that's the top 10 in Pro class, he needs to finish ahead of Piscopo and Pavlovic, remember, in order to win this championship. He came in as the points leader, he's now 1 point behind. That's the 77 car of Inyalbert just moving through on Spirodinov, I think, their 4 position. So that moves them up to P3 in Pro-Am and 10th outright. It's a good fight for position back a little bit further. Abkavaza, who was he's the only one that was likely to have provided any competition to Simone Pellegrinelli during the opening race and potentially put his championship at risk. Unfortunately for him, he suffered his own woes during the opening race, finished a little bit further down the order, and that gave Pellegrinelli his maiden championship in the Super Trofeo Europe Series. Still keen to get through is Shota. Dives up the inside of the... just trying to work out which car that is. I think that may well have been Inyalbert in the 77. Now, up front, Amici 1.16 seconds ahead of Piscopo. He's comfortably sitting where he needs to, not too far off the leader's tail, 2:11.92. So the track looks pretty good. Amici, nice job for his first real clear flying lap. Piscopo now 1.6 seconds behind, but a good 2.5 seconds up rather on Thomas Pavoda. Jeroen up to position number 10. He's now classified as well, he's still the 5th pro class car in this field. Now, as we explained earlier, there's been a good share of race wins between the Piscopo Pavlovich Italian-Serbian combination. They have won 5 rounds of the championship. 4 rounds of the championship so far this year, because they didn't win the last race. Jeroen has won 5 rounds of the championship. They haven't been split by much. Piscopo and Pavlovich have been on the podium 8 times this year. Jeroen up until the first race to date 9 times. So his record he would like to see recover from the disappointment of race 1. We're not quite sure why he didn't take his 5th place starting position, but shown there in position number 10. If you look at the colour codes on screen, the car number, when it is white, that is the Pro Class car. When it is red, is Pro-Am. And when it is black, that is the Am Class driver. So you'll see when they come up, that will give you a good indication of where each of the cars are in the field and relative to their other class cars. So Andrea Amici continues to lead the front of the field. We have a compulsory pit stop as another part of the Super Trofeo program worldwide at between 20 and 30 minutes in this race, as per all previous rounds of the 3 championships around the world. There is a compulsory stop. Every driver, or every team, because some of these drivers have two driver entries, some of the entries rather have 2 drivers, some of the entries have 1 driver, they must stop and effect a driver change within that 10-minute pit window. So every car must come in and pit. They can choose whether they come in at the start or come in at the end, but if they do not pit within that 10-minute window, it's an automatic drive-through penalty. 86 seconds is the time they will be essentially stopped for. I need to explain that. From the control line into the control line out is 26 seconds. They have to remain stationary for a minimum of 60 seconds. If they shorten that distance, there is a penalty to pay. So they need to make sure that the crew is sharp. They're not refueling the car. In many cases, they will not even be doing any tyre change. The idea isn't to make major changes to the car. Of course, we were explaining earlier, you can't make a lot of modifications to the Super Trofeo. That's the idea of this level of racing. However, they do have to make a driver change if it's a 2-driver entry. So there are things they need to take into consideration. They need to make sure they're sharp when they make that change, and that can certainly mix up the order. It's getting a little bit racy further back. That's the Dimitri Inyalbert entry again, right in the thick of the action. So if we have a quick recap, Andrea Amici is leading. He has the Pro Class covered. Thomas Pavoda in P3 is leading in Pro-Am, and the leading Am driver is Jake Rattenbury. And Jake won his 2nd race. So we're going to look at a replay for the number 7 car going. That's forcing the number 79 of Mikhail Spiridonov off the circuit. That's up at turn 4. Didn't look like any serious contact there. Of course, that's one of the things that many of these drivers are more than mindful of. You can make an aggressive passing move, but with the way the aerodynamics on these cars work, you don't want to be pushing so hard that you break the dive planes, which to assist the cornering on the front of the car, certainly the splitter or the rear diffuser, or for that matter the rear wing. So you need to be very careful if you make a move, you make a good clean move, because you really don't want to be rubbing panels in these cars, because the disadvantage to the aerodynamic performance of the car can have a big impact, certainly on a circuit like this. 2:11.886 for Piscopo last time round, fastest man on the circuit. And that is the fastest lap of this race so far. Still 1.1 seconds behind race leader Andrea Amici, but he is more than aware of the position of his title rival Jerome Mull, who is still back down the order, shown in position number 9. So again, Pro Class drivers are white. The Pro-Am class drivers are red, and the Am class drivers are black. So that is the guide that will show you which class each of these drivers is racing for. Very wide open circuit at Sepang, but there are a number of corners where drivers will admit that you want to make sure that your line is pretty precise, because the penalty for running too far wide can mean spearing off into spoon drains and often into catch fences. It's pretty rare, as you can see, a very, very wide open circuit with a lot of runoff. But as we explained earlier, there was a very heavy shower of rain, or a storm rather, just not too long before the start of this race, which is why we were delayed 20 minutes. And that has made the outfield very slippery. And anyone will tell you that a fast-moving race car on slick tyres on wet grass is a combination rather that you don't want to have to face at any stage as a competitor, because it inevitably ends in all kinds of misery. So the battle on track, the 77 of Dimitri and Yalbert still battling there. And that's Venturini in front of him, position 7. We didn't quite expect that from the young Italian, who's been a bit of a star in the past. Of course, he ran strongly in Swiss Formula Renault back in 2009 and was strong in GP3. In fact, was a race winner in 2013 in the UK. So a very experienced young driver, only 23 years of age. Of course, Bortolotti, who we saw on the grid earlier in this race, has Formula One experience, and so too Eduardo Piscopo, who's sitting in P2 and realistically in the box seat now for the 2014 Pro Series Championship in the 2014 Super Trofeo Europe Series. 32 minutes down. The pit window will be open in the next probably lap and a half. So the leaders will look at when they want to bring their driver in. Certainly with the Pro-Ams, they'll want to have the Pro, if they have started the race, stay out longer. If the Am has started the race, it's likely that they will be the first of the cars into pit lane. The single driver entries, that's up to them. Provided they pit within that 10-minute window, then they will be well and truly on task, no problem at all. And whether you're a Pro or an Am, that's really not going to make any difference at all. But certainly the two driver entry strategy will come into play. So it's Amici in the lead, Piscopo holding down P2, less than a second behind, as you can see on screen now. Now Amici very hard on the throttle there. He probably got onto the throttle a little bit quick. Four-wheel drive the LP574, the current Gallardo Super Trofeo race car for Lamborghini. The new Huracan, interestingly, which is here this weekend for the drivers competing in the World Final to test, is a 622, the 2 standing for two-wheel drive. So it'll be interesting for those drivers to switch from four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive. Of course, the current car is still eligible in season 2015. So it will be a mix of the existing Gallardo Super Trofeo and the new incoming Huracan 622, which is just one amazingly beautiful piece of equipment. And Lamborghini is really going to turn heads with that race car, as they have done with the Gallardo for almost 10 years. So, Amici, Piscopo, Pavoda still in position 3, Viberti P4, Gicciardo P5, Venturini P6, and Yalbert P7. Your own Mull now in P8, and he is just having the scoring board refresh. Will tell you how far back your own Mull is from the Piscopo-Pavlovich combination. Jake Rattenbury now is position 10 behind Alberto De Falco, the Pro-Am champion, and the Palya Shatin Pro-Am car that was involved in an incident in the opening race, spinning down the grass at turn 2. They've moved up into P11, dropping Shota back to P12, and second now in the AM class. So the deficit from Jeroen Mull to his title rivals is 18 seconds. They've both got pit stops coming, and that pit window is now open. It's a very, very slow-moving car on circuit. Just check what's going on there, whether it's Tim Richards perhaps circulating a bit further back down the order. He's shown as position 20 and 2 laps down. As we see a move for the lead, and Eduardo Piscopo has taken the lead of this race. Now, that puts him in a fairly comfortable position. The Benoldi Motorsport car now goes to front of field. Whether Andrea Amici is suffering a bit of an issue, the car certainly has a lot more oversteer than the Piscopo-Pavlovich Benoldi Motorsport car. So whether or not he's suffering any issues, or whether he's just happy now to put the pressure on Piscopo and follow them through to the pit stop and come back and have another bite of the race lead later in this race. Certainly many drivers will argue to you that if they can be the chaser rather than the chasee, then that can often be the best place to be. You're not spending so much time focusing on protecting and covering your line. You're more focused on getting around the guy in front of you. So there you go. Andrea Amici straight down to pit lane. So he is in for his compulsory stop. Piscopo is going to carry on. Immediately behind him, Thomas Pavoda continues to hunt him down for position. But now in free air, we'll be interested to see just how quick Eduardo Piscopo can push the Benoldi Motorsport Super Trofeo and try and open up a nice advantage by the time he hands across to his teammate, of course, Milos Pavlovich. That will move Jeroen Mull further up. No, in fact, Mull's gone to pit lane 2, so he's in early. Interesting to see whether any of these cars have kept tyres for the run into the second stanza of this race. As drivers, they're Pirelli technicians checking tyre temperatures. Of course, pressure is an obvious option for drivers to, or teams rather, to be able to set up the car. Now that has to do with maximising the pressure at the right time during the race. So they can often start the tyre pressures low, so as they heat up, the tyre wear and the grip improves across the race, or they may start with a slightly higher pressure in their Pirelli DH control slick and have more pace out of the car earlier in the race. You can see them just checking and equalising pressures across the car. Whether there's a significant number of left-hand or right-hand corners on the circuit, that can often have a bearing too on whether the left and right side tyres do run at different pressures, because the ultimate test of whether the pressures are right is at the end of the race and they're all equalised across the 50-minute journey. Car number 7 sitting in pit lane, Taras Polishuk. He was running very strongly earlier in the AM class, and once he's completed his stop, it'll be interesting to see where he rejoins. Andrea Amici shown as P3 rejoining this race. There's Venturini coming out immediately ahead of Jeroen Mull. And Mull doesn't seem to have accelerated particularly quickly coming out of pit lane. Now that could have been a lens issue. It may have been the foreshortened distance, just looking down the long straight with a long lens from the camera. So we might have actually picked something that wasn't an issue there. That's the Jan van Oostel car just coming out immediately behind Shota. because they're battling for AM honours. We'll just check and see whether or not your own Mull's suffering any issues there. As Piscopo goes through one more time, 2:12 last time round. He's 3 seconds up, 3.7 seconds up on Thomas Pavoda. Verberti still shown in position 3. Andrea Ciccato now up to position 4, and Dimitri Yalbert position number 5. Alberto De Falco now hits the pits for his compulsory stop. We're at the 25-minute mark of this race, so midpoint of the race, 25 down, 25 to go. So far, Bortolotti, of course, and David Perel, who had the drama in race 1, did not start race 2, and Daniel Hickmar and Faraz Fauzi, who unfortunately suffered an onboard fire after an incident. Just going down to pit lane and talk to some of the leading drivers, Jane and Julio.
Leading afterwards,
Okay, all right.
Understood?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, drama for the leader. Gee, Eduardo Piscopo caught the tail of the 70 car very, very quickly, and Shota wasn't sure whether to move out of the way or just leave the pass until after the turn, because he had the line into the corner. But Piscopo was carrying a lot of track speed coming in, and fortunately just pulled out of that one. That could have been very nasty, because these guys want to be quick, but they're mindful they're in a championship race. The last thing he needs to do is damage this car, because right at the moment, your own Mull's dropping down the order. We seem to have picked that after he left pit lane. He didn't have the pace of the car, Giovanni, who left immediately in front of him, Giovanni Venturini, of course. And he appears to be dropping down the order, now shown in position number 14. We'll keep a close eye on his lap times. 3:44, so it's still showing his outlap from pit lane. So Piscopo continuing to lead. Pavoda still in P2, just about to cross the line. And the driver changes are starting to occur. So 23 minutes of the race left. Piscopo will probably complete 1 or 2 more laps, so complete this lap and perhaps 1 more. Then he will have to be in to make sure that he completes that compulsory pit stop within the allowed time. Andrea Ciccato pits from P4, currently holding P2 in Pro-Am. Alberto De Falco P7, and he's 5th currently, the reigning champion, or the newly crowned champion. Car 34 now in pit lane. That's Andrea Ciccato in one of the Benoldi Motorsport Super Trofeos. Similar car to that which is leading this race. Tim Richards still or shown in pit lane. Now there's a gaggle of cars coming in. That's Pellegrinelli towards the front of the field from P7. Car 11 is also in Roberto Tanca, and car 23, which of course is Mikhail Grashev. So the pit stops are being conducted. Very hot inside the car for the drivers, but up front Piscopo continues to push. 2:12.9 last time round. He's been the quickest driver so far, the only one into the 2:11s, 2:11.8. I apologise. Andrea Amici, who's now back in position number 11, has pumped out the fastest lap last time round, 2:12.8. He was the other driver into the 2:11s early in this race as race leader. So 22 minutes of this race left. I would suggest Eduardo Piscopo, without wanting to risk anything, will be in pit lane at the end of this straight. I'd expect to see the number 3 Benoldi Motorsport car go straight into pit lane, conduct his stop, and continue on. Yes, he's into pit lane now. No chance, or no sense rather, risking anything when there's a championship on the line. Jerome Mull continues to slip. 2:11.902 last time round. So whether he has an intermittent problem or whether it's just all the cars cycling through the field, but certainly his first outlap did not appear to have the pace that he needed. Piscopo's out of the car. Milos Pavlovich, who did such a great job in the opening stanza of race 1 earlier today, jumps in behind the wheel. Of course, the tall Serbian. It's nice to see them standing on the podium and back in this championship fight. But Jerome Muhl really has a lot of work ahead of him. The top 5 cars in this field are now in pit lane. This will start to mix things up a little bit with 20 minutes to go in this race, the final race of the 2014 Super Trofeo Europe Series. See a lot of activity in pit lane. 86 seconds. It might seem like an eternity, but they have to effect driver changes safely. Teams will be very keen to check tyre pressures and temperatures and make sure that the car's right to go. In some cases, they may have reserved a better set of tyres to run through the final 20-minute stanza of this race, but it's unlikely given the temperature has dropped a little over where it was earlier in the day. So we see the number 3 car of Milos Pavlovic coming back out onto the circuit. It's the 26 of Gerard Teresa immediately behind him. So things will start to mix up a little bit now as Milos Pavlovic gets the Benaldi Motorsport car up to speed. It'll be a good weekend for them, despite the disappointment with Mirko Bertolotti and David Perel in the opening race to have taken pole for the final European round here at Sepang International Circuit, and potentially a race victory for Piscopo and Pavlovic, and with that the 2014 Pro Class title. Still a long way to go, 19 minutes 26 seconds. Pavlovic is shown as the race leader, also the Pro Class leader. Thomas Pavoda with now back down to pit lane. We'll talk to some of the leading drivers across to Julio and Jane.
Okay, just tell me what exactly happened in the start of the race. He came from the pit instead, and what will be the strategy from the 4th place right now?
Yeah, unfortunately there is a misunderstanding, because we thought it was allowed to drive one time through the pits. The organization isn't sure about that, but race control decided that he has to start his race in from the pit lane.
Okay. So what is it happening right now that leading towards the race?
I think now he's at 10th or 9th position. Okay. He came from all the way back, but if nothing else happens with the competitive team, the number 3 car, Piscopo and Pavlovic, he will end 2nd in championship, unfortunately, but very, very nice for the number 3 car.
Okay, thank you very much and good luck.
Okay.
Abbiamo intervistato il padre di Jerome Muhl, che ci ha appunto fatto capire cosa è successo all'inizio della gara. Abbiamo visto che Muhl è partito dalla corsia box, sembra che ha fatto un passaggio di troppo in corsia box e la direzione gara l'ha bloccato proprio in uscita. È stato costretto dunque a partire dal fondo della griglia. Abbiamo visto che ha recuperato diverse posizioni, adesso sembra essere intorno alla 9ª, 10ª posizione, e il padre ovviamente fa i complimenti alla macchina numero 3, quella di Piscopo Pavlovic, che erano i suoi rivali avanti di un solo punto, però è comunque contento del risultato del figlio, un 2º posto assoluto nella classe Pro. Mancano ancora dei minuti, però insomma le speranze sono poche.
That's terribly disappointing for the Lamborghini Racing Team Germany team to suffer such a problem just at the start of the race. It's the last thing you need with 1 point in the championship battle, to have just an issue with well, officialdom, I guess, but the rules are the rules. If that's the rules pertinent to this circuit, then that's one of the things that I guess the team have to take into consideration. But certainly very frustrating with 1 point in a championship to be forced to start from the pit lane and rear of field. And Jerome Muhl, he seems to have the pace back. 2:15 last time round, back in P9, or in fact he's moved from P10 to P9, so he's in traffic, but 29 seconds back from his rivals now, with just 16 minutes of this race to go. It's going to be a big ask, and certainly nobody, and I would almost be certain that Jerome Muhl would be the same, would wish any ill will on the leading team. Certainly would not want to see them have any issues. I mean, you want to beat your opposition on track, not by any kind of drama, and unfortunately for them, that well, certainly rather, unfortunately for Jerome Muhl, that'll really make his job very, very difficult across the closing laps of this race. But up front, Milos Pavlovic comfortably clear. Andrea Amici now has emerged as the challenger. He's got his lights flashing to let the race leader know that he's right behind him. Not sure whether that'll work, but certainly it's worth a try. He's going to know that he's under pressure, and I would almost bet my house on the fact that Milos Pavlovic will let Andrea Amici through, because he's more than aware that he has a 29-second advantage over his title rival. There are 15 minutes left in this race, and the last thing he needs to do, get involved in a battle for a position at the front of this field, which may potentially put him under any risk of suffering a DNF. If he suffers a DNF, the champion becomes your own mule. That's assuming, of course, that he finishes the race. So Milos Pavlovic will be taking all of that into account. Of course, the racer in him will be saying, there's no way you are getting past me. Back down to the pit lane for an interview with some of the drivers and teams. Team obviously caught up down there in pit lane. Of course, there's plenty of activity down there. So Milos Pavlovic leads this field by just half a second, as you can. Oh, that's the last thing he needs, is Andrea Amici putting some serious pressure on under brakes. We've seen a number of moves at that part of the circuit, and he doesn't want to put himself in any jeopardy. Alberto Verberti was on the podium at the opening race. He's currently holding down position number 3. So the top 3 from race 1 are currently the leading 3 in race 2. Gerard Teresa is the leading Pro-Am class driver. In position number 4, Sebastian Merchant, who's been very strong in this championship this year, holding down position number 5. That's the 1-2 in Pro-Am. There appears to be indicators on from the race leader. What's that suggesting? There were flashing lights from the pursuing Andrea Amici last lap, and Milos Pavlovic is saying, mate, you just go past. Take that position. I'll give it to you into turn 15, and you take the race lead. Okay. Well, Jerome Mule's now 36 seconds behind the race leader. Again, probably stuck in traffic. That's something that he doesn't need. But certainly the Piscopo Pavlovic team and the Benoldi Motorsport crew are playing this one very, very sensibly. For Andrea Amici, he's taken full advantage of that. He knows he's not in this title hunt at the front of the field. He knows if he applies enough pressure, then he has the opportunity to take the lead, and perhaps that was all he was indicating with flashing the lights at Milos Pavlovic last time round, that you need to move over. We'll let me through somewhere comfortably. I'll let you go on and win the championship. I'd very much like to add a second race-winning trophy to my cabinet, and I'll get past you. Doesn't seem as stable, the Amici car, in certain parts of this circuit. Out of some of the slower corners, there's been a little bit of oversteer, and certainly he's pushing hard. It's been a problem. That's the number 28 car of Tim Richards. He's not had a particularly great weekend so far. Classified in position 20 at the moment, 4 laps down, and going very, very slowly. May well have had a spin over the back of the circuit. It's on the run down to turn 9. So Amici's taken full advantage again, leaving a little bit of rubber behind, coming out of turn 9 there, and he knows that this could well be the perfect weekend for him. Qualified during this session on Friday in position number 6. He's 1.2 seconds off the lead at 2:10.7. If we look at the times he's turning now, 2:11.9. He's still up with the leaders. 2:11.886 is Piscopo's best lap when he was leading this race prior to handing over to Milos Pavlovic. You can see that the difference between the teams. Don't take too much notice of the 126. Of course, there's some pit entry and exit times involved in all of that. So 11 minutes to go. The final race of the Super Trofeo Europe season. And what a season it's been. Been running in Europe since 2009. It's been a very, very competitive year, which has seen the European circus travel across some serious miles. Of course, the season started in April in Monza, went to the UK to Silverstone in late May, then in late June they were in France at Paul Ricard, late July at Spa-Francorchamps, the famous circuit in Belgium, and another famous circuit, the Nürburgring, in late September. And of course, this is the last race of the 6-round championship, race number 12, 12 50-minute races for the season, ahead of the world final that is scheduled for Sunday at Sepang International Circuit, with 42 international teams. Of course, each region is represented: North America, Europe and Asia. So we're all hanging out to see how that one goes, and no more so than Mirko Bertolotti, the pole sitter here and the lap record holder at Sepang in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo at 2:09.5. That's Pellegrinelli back into pit lane. Now that would be an issue. Of course, they suffered a clutch failure, or in fact he suffered a clutch failure on lap 4 in the opening race. Oh, lots of trouble stopping. No, he's got a penalty, it appears here, number 31 stop and go penalty, and he's very nearly cleaned up the officials as he's come in to stop, so clearly very frustrated. Hopefully that doesn't incur another one. So back onto track, the new, of course, champion in the AM class by virtue of dramas that his opponents had during the opening race. But up front,
hi,
it's
Dimitri,
still Amici.
Nice to see you. And what is your current positions for this race, and also what we'll be expecting for the World Final?
It's an amazing race because race 1 I gave up, and I start at the race 2, I start the last, and I win a lot of positions, so it was an amazing race. Now Mikko is driving, so I would like to finish on the podium in the Pro-Am category, and for tomorrow, yes, I hope to finish on the podium for the World Championship, because I have a good feeling with the track. It's an amazing track, and thank you for Lamborghini, because it's a very beautiful event. I'm very glad to be here.
Okay, all the best.
Abbiamo scambiato due parole con Dimitri e Jalabert, ci ha detto che questa gara è stata tutta in salita perché in gara 1 purtroppo lui e il suo compagno si sono ritirati, Mikko e Skiljanen che corre con lui si sono ritirati, quindi sono partiti dal fondo della griglia. A lui il primo stint ha fatto diversi sorpassi, si è divertito molto, adesso è il turno del compagno e Dimitri spera vivamente che il compagno finisca a podio. Le aspettative per la finale mondiale di domani sono le stesse di quelle di oggi, sperare che si arrivi a podio nella classe Pro-Am, perché è un campionato molto competitivo, un circuito stupendo e un evento molto bello, quindi finire a podio per lui sarebbe un grandissimo risultato.
Dimitri and Jalabert did a great job during the opening stanza of the race, and no doubt he would like to be on the Pro-Am podium, but currently Mikko Eskelinen is 18 seconds away from that particular position. And that looks like Tim Richards back into pit lane and out of the car. That's frustrating for him. A very disappointing way to end the season. And up front, Milos Pavlovic is just sitting and waiting. Whether or not he feels that he will take another run at the race leader, I'm not sure. But Jeroen Mull, we still ponder whether or not he has an intermittent issue. 2:22.193 last time round, now shown in position number 10. He's 54 seconds back from his title rivals, and that's not tending to suggest that he is in any position now to fight for the pro title. And that'd be very disappointing for the Dutchman, who's been very, very quick this year. And of course, we're explaining only earlier that during the course of this year, Jeroen Mull has won on 5 occasions. So disappointment for him, but still 6 minutes to go. Anything could happen. Back down to pit lane. Andrea Amici back on the throttle through turn 1, through turn 2, 6 minutes left on the clock. It's about 4 laps. This will be his second win of the year. Of course, he won the opening race, and he was very pleased to do so. Second in the second race at the Nürburgring. So 2 victories now added to his name in Super Trofeo Europe, and he will be more than pleased to be able to walk away from this weekend having taken 2 race victories. The guys behind him, Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic, they're probably going to be a little bit happier, because if they can retain the position they sit for the next 5 minutes and 45 seconds.
I'm here with Leonardo Calato, and he's the technical man behind these cars. And I would like to ask him, can you just share with us about the challenges that you have to go through on this track? Because the weather is very demanding, it's very humid, and how are we going to go through this for the whole weekend?
Yeah, also with this really hot temperature and environment, the car were running very good. Also, I'm really surprised about the European drivers who react really good way at this condition. So everything so far fine.
Thank you very much.
Leonardo, una domanda anche in italiano per te, per i nostri spettatori italiani. Tu sei l'uomo tecnico dietro queste macchine insieme a Stefano. Dici come sta andando in questo weekend particolare per condizioni di umidità e di caldo. Sembra che siano tutti assatanati anche in pista.
Sì, nonostante le condizioni di caldo infernale, umidità, come vedete, le vetture hanno reagito molto bene. Siamo molto sorpresi anche dai piloti. La preparazione atletica conta molto e hanno reagito molto bene. Complimenti a tutti.
Continues to drop down the order, now shown in position 12, 223 last time round. But up front, Andrea Amici not having any dramas at all, although 214.9 last time round. Obviously traffic will have slowed him down, and Milos Pavlovic still sitting comfortably. 4 more minutes, and he and teammate Eduardo Piscopo will be the 2014 Pro Class champions in Super Trofeo Europe. Alberto Verberti still in a watching brief, back 8 seconds down on the race leader, but comfortably clear of the Pro-Am class leaders, which of course Gerard Torreza and Thomas Pivoda. Immediately behind them are their Pro-Am rivals, Sebastian Merchant and Andrea Ciccato, and Giovanni Venturini. It's been a little bit up and down this weekend. Has been quick at times and then not quite as quick at other times. Having said that, he's just turned in one of his quickest laps of the race with a 2:14.5, and that is in position 6. And 2014 Pro-Am champion Alberto De Falco has moved onto the podium in Pro-Am. Immediately behind him is Mikko Eskelinen, and well, he's got a lot of work to do, because that's still an 18 to 19 second deficit to De Falco in front of them in position 8. And Jake Rattenbury, much like Andrea Amici, is going to put himself in a position to take back-to-back wins in the AM class, so that will be a great result for them too. Andrea Amici is doing things comfortably at the moment. The pace has certainly dropped right off. It's getting late in the race. 2 minutes 50 to go. Very warm conditions still, so the drivers will be just sitting comfortably, get themselves through this race. There's not much more to play for now apart from a race finish. There's really nobody going for a race position to try and put any points in any kind of jeopardy, or to put a race result beyond question. Andrea Amici looks very comfortable at the lead of this race. The only thing he has to consider, though, is whether or not the racer in Milos Pavlovic, the Serbian driver, immediately behind him takes over and puts him under pressure. 2 minutes 22 to go. They will cross the line, I would guess, within the length of a lap. So this will be the last lap of the 2014 Super Trofeo Europe Championship. And Andrea Amici will be very pleased to take away back-to-back wins. Now, I don't want to classify too many things too early in the piece, because we still have 5.5, or certainly less than that now, kilometres of this racetrack to go. But he's done a fantastic job all weekend. Qualified P6, very comfortably worked his way towards the front of the field, off the line in race 1, and was right in the mix with the leaders, inside the top 3 in the opening lap of race 1. And certainly had himself in the right position after the compulsory pit stop to take on the race win. As we explained, second at Nürburgring last time round in race 10 of the series. He has now emerged to be a race winner this year, and it looks like this could well be back-to-back. But behind them, Piscopo and Pavlovich, the Benoldi Motorsport crew are moving their way to the edge of pit lane because they know only too well that this represents to them championship victory for 2014 in the Pro class. And that will go down very well, certainly for the team that started the weekend with Mirko Bortolotti on pole position. And they led the opening stanza of race one. Unfortunately, again, for David Perel, they had dramas which put them out of this race with an incident after the compulsory stop. But the recovery has been completed. And Milos Pavlovich will cross the line to the delight of the Benoldi Motorsport crew and take the championship victory for himself and Eduardo Piscopo for 2014, and that is a fantastic result, and that classifies all three championships for the 2014 season. Will he make a big dive inside Andrea Amici down into turn number 15? Doesn't have the lights flashing. The team are still waiting. He will appear around the corner very, very soon. Amici deep under brakes into 15. He wants to make sure that he's got this victory under wraps. Comes through the exit of turn 15. The clock says 0, lights ablaze, and Andrea Amici goes back to back. But importantly for Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovich, that is victory in 2014 for Super Trofeo Europe in the Pro class. Great result for Alberto Viberti. That's 2 podiums for him in the final round of the championship. There's much joy down there in pit lane for the Benoldi Motorsport crew. Fantastic effort for them. You can see just in the background there Mirko Bortolotti, who was a big part of the success of that team this year. Unfortunately unable to start the last race of the year, but was certainly there with the team, pushing things on and giving them all the support they needed. But for Piscopo and Pavlovich, victory to them, which is a fantastic result. Gerard Teresa and Thomas Pavoda will come through as the Pro AM class race winners for the final race of the 2014 season. And Sebastian Merchant and Andrea Ceccato will cross the line immediately behind them. And the AM class winner, Jake Rattenbury, goes back-to-back, just like Andrea Amici, for his 3rd win of the season.
Okay, congratulations, number 1. So tell me how you're feeling and what is your plan for World Final the next day?
I don't know. I'm just delighted for me, for the team. We worked so hard. We did it. So tonight, I think I'm going to drink something a little bit, and then tomorrow I'm going to think about World Final. For the time being, yes!
Milos, anche in italiano, ce l'hai fatta. Campione 2014, classe Pro. Sembri più sudato adesso di quando sei sceso dalla macchina.
Sì, ho un po' di febbre e quindi insomma non sto benissimo, però sono troppo felice. Va bene.
Però ci sono ancora i finali mondiali.
Domani sarò a posto, sicuro.
To excuse my judgment, was in fact Eduardo Piscopo that finished the race, not Milos Pavlovich. So the advice I got earlier in the race wasn't in fact correct. But anyway, there you go. Results still the same. They are the 2014 Pro Class champions. So a nice result for them. Quick recap of the race. Of course, it started under safety car. Once the safety car pulled in, Andrea Amici assumed the lead of the race by virtue of being the race 1 winner and the pole sitter for this race. It was Milos Pavlovich, in fact, that followed him through and ultimately forced his way through into the lead of the race by the compulsory pit stop, handing the lead to Eduardo Piscopo, who went on to, well, he finished 2nd in the end because he allowed Andrea Amici to work his way past, but they had a championship on the line, so they weren't going to put themselves under pressure. A little bit further back, there's Alberto Viberti fighting for position, and that is the Taras Polacek Aviatrix car on screen, the orange AM class car. A little bit of contact there with Mikhail Spiridonov, his rival in the AM Class Championship this year. And that, of course, is Giovanni Venturini in the all-white car on screen, immediately ahead of, well, it could be Dimitri and Yalbert there in the 77 Mad Croc car. They battled hard through the early part of this race, and certainly Venturini has had a fairly mixed weekend. Very quick during practice and qualifying, but very tough job during the racing, and the pace wasn't quite there for the Italian this time round. But for Piscopo and Pavlovich, a very deserving victory. So too, it was a very deserving championship victory, but Andrea Amici, congratulations to him and the team for back-to-back race wins here. Goes across to congratulate the championship winners. That was a nice sign, but certainly for the Benaldi Motorsport crew, a lovely result for them. So congratulations to them. They will join the, of course, the champion in Pro-Am, which was settled last time round at the Nürburgring, and that, of course, was Alberto De Falco. And earlier today, Simone Pellegrinelli claimed the AM title. Down to Jane and race winner Eduardo Piscopo.
Okay, just waiting for it. Okay, congratulations for the win, and how are you feeling right now? I mean, and I'd like to know more about what will be your plan for tomorrow.
Yeah, man, tomorrow we're starting over, so it's a new chapter. We forget about today. We have a good car. I think we are going to be competitive, so yeah, watch out.
Right, so congratulations.
Edo, ce l'avete fatta? Ci eravamo lasciati 2 ore fa con questo punto di vantaggio e adesso siete i nuovi campioni 2014 classe Pro.
Sì, penso ce lo meritavamo, abbiamo avuto un po' di sfortune a Silverstone e al Nürburgring, quindi oggi è andata bene, dai, non abbiamo avuto nessun problema, la macchina volava, io alla fine ho soltanto spinto il giusto, non ho preso rischi e la strategia ha premiato.
Grazie, congratulazioni.
Ciao, grazie.
Very hot work for the Piscopo Pavlovich team. Quick recap of the results. Andrea Amici takes back-to-back wins, 21 laps down. Of course, started under safety car. Piscopo and Pavlovich, P2. Alberto Verberti in position number 3. Gerhard Teresa and Thomas Pavoda, of course, leading Pro-Am drivers in position 4. Sebastian Merchant and Andrea Ciccato will take position 5. Venturini in position 6. Then the Escalinen and Inyalbert combination take position 7 and 3rd overall in the Pro-Am class. Leading driver in AM, as we explained earlier, in back-to-back was Jake Rattenbury. Second for the AM class was Roberto Tanca, and Shota came through second in the championship, and certainly third overall for the AM class here for the final round of Super Trofeo Europe at Sepang International Circuit. You see the leaders, the two standouts teams rather in this final round of Super Trofeo Europe at Sepang International. Andrea Amici in the black 27 car, and Eduardo Piscopo and teammate Milos Pavlovich, who started this race in the Benaldi Motorsport number 3 Super Trofeo, battling over track position. But in the end, they were both winners for different reasons. Fortunately, the Tim Richards car, the View Super Trofeo, didn't have a great view in the end. He had a very difficult weekend, and a drive-through penalty there for Simone Pellegrinelli, and for him it was nice that he could claim the championship after the opening race, despite having clutch problems which eliminated him from race 1 after just 4 laps. So he came back through to finish. In the end, classified in position number 13 and 4th in the AM class, who didn't quite make the podium. But certainly for Andrea Amici, this was a nice result for him. A little bit of sideways action under throttle through turn 1. A great result for him in the end to take back-to-back victories, and certainly add 2 wins to his resume in Super Trofeo. So nice result there. Now, as Eduardo Piscopo quite rightly stated, it's a clean slate. We're on to qualifying tomorrow morning for the 2014 Super Trofeo Series World Final. There are 2 50-minute races on Sunday. Those races will, in local time, we should be talking local time rather than any time overseas or relative to Greenwich Mean Time, but local time in Malaysia. Race 1 will begin at 10 AM and race 2 will begin at 3 PM. So 5 hours between the 2 race starts. And of course, we will have you well and truly covered here on track from the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo World Final at Sepang International Circuit. Stay with us just a little longer as we relive some of the action from race 1 and race 2. And with any luck, we may well be able to catch some of the leading teams ahead of the podium presentation. Certainly victory for the Benaldi Motorsport team, and that makes up for some of the disappointment of the race leaders of race 1. Of course, David Perel and Mirko Bertolotti from being unable to finish. Just ahead of a podium presentation for what has been a fantastic 12-round championship that began earlier in this season, all the way back at Monza on the 12th and 13th of April. Opening race there won by Andrea Palmer. Race 2 was won by the very guys who've just won the Pro Class Championship, Piscopo and Pavlovich. The Pro-Am winner for the first round was Bortolotti and Vavaroussis, his teammate that time round, and Pellegrinelli won the AM class. So just quickly scan through at Silverstone, the outright winner Jerome Mule, he backed up in race 2. At Paul Ricard, and this is, we're talking outright in Pro Class, at Paul Ricard in June, the Piscopo Pavlovich combination won the opening race, but Jerome Mule grabbed his 3rd win of the year. Then from the Paul Ricard circuit in France, we're across to Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. Piscopo Pavlovich grabbed their 3rd of the win and added a 4th by backing up. And then Jerome Mule won the opening race at Nürburgring and again in race 2. So here we have your podium for AM class. And that, of course, was Shota, who finished in P3. Position number 2 in AM is Roberto Tanca. And of course the race winner for the 2nd time in 5 hours. His 3rd race in the AM class for the 2015 season, Jake Rattenbury.
Now is the time for the national anthem of winner team and flag races. And now it's my honor to invite Mr. Cristiano Imani, Asian Series coordinator, comes on podium and hands out the trophies. Please. And hand out the Pilatic trophy to the winner. And now is the time for the group photos.
Great result there for Jake Rattenbury. Win number 3 for the season, 3rd in the championship. But for Shota Abkazava, P2 in the championship, you see him there just to the right immediately of Jake Rattenbury. He will be 2nd in the championship, but after race 1 we had a new champion for the AM class for the 2014 season, and that of course was Simone Pellegrinelli. Now they can get messy with the champagne. Great result for them, a fantastic end of the season, and of course for all these drivers it's on to Sunday. And the big one for the 2014 Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series worldwide, of course, the World Final. It's interesting there that we noticed Roberto Tanca left very early in the piece, exit stage left. He clearly didn't want to wear any of the champagne. Now we're on to the Pro-Am class. Well, we saw an interesting development there. Alberto De Falco, the 2014 champion. He wrapped his championship up after just the 5th round of the 6-round series, last time out at the Nürburgring. He dropped back to position number 4 in class, so that did in fact provide Dimitri Anjelbert with his chance to be on the podium for Pro-Am with teammate Mikko Eskelinen, and they will be first team out to accept their trophies. Of course, the Mad Croc crew. Great result for them. 2 great competitors. Of course, the Frenchman, Dimitri Anjelbert. And a very happy Finn, Mikko Eskelinen. Second. As explained by the commentators. Second for the Pro-Am class was Sebastian Merchant and Andrea Ceccato. And the winners, Thomas Pavoda and Gerard Teresa. A nice result too for them. Now, what that does to the results in Pro-Am, well, certainly they were right in the mix, but as we said, Alberto De Falco, the 18-year-old Italian, is the champion. Mirko Bertolotti will have dropped down the order by virtue of his DNF in race 1 and his failure to start in race 2.
And now it's my honor to invite Mr. Maurizio Reggiani, Automobili Lamborghini R&D Director, comes on podium and hands out the trophies. And now, it's my honor to invite Ms. Neil Mayer, Pilani Motorsport, comes on podium and hands out the Pilani trophy to the winners. Congratulations. And now it's your full photo time.
Now, it's interesting, it was very close coming into the final round of the championship. Mirko Bertolotti was on 87 points. Alberto De Falco, as we've already alluded, won the championship at the Nürburgring. Now, Sebastian Merchant was on 85 points. Gerard Teresa was on 83. Mikko Eskelinen was on 77, obviously with teammate Dimitri Anjelbert. So this result is likely to have had an impact on the final 3 or final 2 podium place getters in the championship. De Falco champion, but as for whether well, certainly not Bertolotti, but the positions of Sebastian Merchant and Gerard Teresa will change. Now that will of course all be updated on the squadracorsa.lamborghini.com website, where of course you can get all of the results from this weekend and all the championships in the 2014 Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series, and be able to keep up with obviously the live stream connect through to social media, including Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, and keep abreast of everything that goes on with certainly the Super Trofeo series worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen,
now we're on to the Pro Series drivers, and that was a great battle all weekend. And for the second time, Alberto Viberti today will stand on the podium for the final round here at Sepang International Circuit. Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic have a little bit of celebrating to do this evening, the Italian and Serbian combination. And of course, back-to-back winner for Andrea Amici. Fantastic result for him.
Okay, now it's my honor to invite Mr. Stefan Winkelmann, automobile number 1, and hands out the trophies. Now we're glad to invite Mr. Theo Meyer, Pirelli Motor comes on podium and hand out the Pirelli trophy to the winner. Okay, now it's the time for the group photo. Group photo time, please. Congratulations.
Great result again there for Andrea Amici. And now the boys can celebrate. There will be plenty of tension released, not only the cork in the champagne bottle, and Eduardo Piscopo is having all sorts of trouble removing it, but certainly once it comes off, his teammate Pavlovic is going to certainly wear his wrath. And that's been a nice result. So again, Andrea Amici, Eduardo Piscopo and Milos Pavlovic, congratulations to them, the Pro Class champions for 2014. And Alberto Viberti on the podium again for the second race. So here you have all of the race winners from race 2, the final race of the 2014 Super Trofeo Europe Series. And could there be any more beautiful a sound than the glorious 5.4 litre Lamborghini V10 of the Giardo Super Trofeo circulating as the prize-giving presentation goes on. So now it is the world final. On to Sunday, 2 races, 50 minutes. Prior to that, we have qualifying. It begins tomorrow. One qualifying session of 40 minutes. 3 o'clock local time. This won't be live streamed, but certainly the 2 50-minute races will. Race 1 on Sunday, local time, Malaysian time, Kuala Lumpur, 10 a.m. in the morning for the opening 50-minute race. Again, same format, compulsory pit stop mid-race. And race number 2, the second and final race of the 2014 World Final for the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo Series here at Sepang, will begin at 3 o'clock. And again, 50-minute race, compulsory pit stop, and that will settle just who will be the champions of the 2014 Super Trofeo Series worldwide, and we're all looking forward to that one. So whilst there'll be some celebrating going on tonight, it will be fairly subdued because all these teams are well aware they've got a qualifying session tomorrow as well as warm-up in the morning. All 42 teams from North America, Europe and Asia all combined, they will be competing for the big prize for the World Final for 2014. Thank you for joining us. We will be back with you on Sunday. Please keep track of squadracorsa.lamborghini.com for all the goings on here at Sepang International Circuit. It's been great having you with us. We will see you on Sunday.